Welcome back to Timo's Dinky Detailing. Today I'm going to be working on a French model. It's a Dinky 32E. I don't know how to do the French. It's a fire engine. Here's what it looks like. Now this is in quite reasonable condition. It's play worn, so you can see that it's been well looked after. It doesn't have any damages, dents, anything like that. And it has its original tires. They're beautiful white tires that have turned yellow over time, and I'm going to try and rescue those and use them because I don't have a replacement for them. You can see a lot of detail there in the back. So looking at it close up, you can see I can look at how it's painted, so I know how to do that grill. It's a straightforward model, and it's one of these models. I did another fire engine earlier, and it's the same sort of thing. It's a big empty box. There's no springs on the suspension. It's a very basic model. It doesn't have an interior or any glass. Now this one is held together with just one rivet. And at the front of the base, it fits into a slot that's at the front of the casting. So I'm just grinding that down with a small burr, and there, it popped up by itself before I had a chance to get a screwdriver to pry it up. That was pretty cool. So anyway, so the base comes off pretty well, and again, the base is in really good condition. These axles, I could just cut them, take those wheels off. You can see there's an extra post in there. I don't know what it's doing, and it's kind of very poorly cast, which doesn't matter. And it's got this little sheet metal part that holds the ladder from sliding off, and then there's a little bridge on top that also holds the ladder. And there's a rivet on that little bridge. I'm not going to take that off. If I take that off, I can't thread it back on. I would have to just glue it back on. I'm just going to straighten it out and paint it in place. Same with that back little hook. So I only have one hole to do, so I drill it with the tap drill, and then I will tap it on the workbench. And this is for a 440 button socket head cap screw. And again, this is the tap. It has a spiral flute which causes the swarf to be pushed backwards out of the hole so it doesn't get pushed down into the bottom of the hole. And there I put a screw in place that'll protect the threaded hole from getting filled with paint and stuff while I'm moving on with the project. So I filed off the ends of these axles, or at least that one. Now this one's in there, and I'm not going to bother filing it. It takes a long time. I've got these pliers that I've ground the jaws off of, so that just the cutting portion. So it has really high leverage. It's very easy to cut these axle shafts. Now to get these tires off, they're very hard. Put some boiling water into this tiny little cap, and I dip these things into the hot water and let them warm up, and that softens the rubber. Now that's the way you can get these old tires off. So there, push it through, and the tire comes off. So I do that with all four, obviously. Gonna need to paint those hubs. And that tire seems to have broken a little bit. I'm still gonna try and rescue these things. So there's the other two. Give them a minute. Once they're warmed up, the rubber is very soft, and they can come off. And I can do the same thing when I put them back on. if I'm able to rescue them. They're all yellow. I'm going to try and wash them. I'm going to try and bring back the rubberiness. I'm putting these all on the axle that I did rescue so I could put it and hold it on this, whatever this clamp is, surgical clamp is called. And this is going outside. And I put the boiling water followed by the caustic soda. And that's a very quick way to clean the paint off. And most of the time it takes all of the paint. And you can see I'm doing this. There's still snow in the backyard. So with the paint all off of it, no scraping required. All of it came off in the caustic soda. And it's the original paint, I'm pretty sure. And the base is in very good shape as well. It wasn't rusted, at least not much. And it wasn't dented up like most of these bases. And then the wheels, I'll brush them up a little bit. They're steel ones, and they do rust, and so they're going into the rust remover. And I'm putting the base in there. There's a tiny bit of rust. So that'll sit overnight, and then I'll take that stuff, rust off. Now, the tires I'm going to clean using baking soda. Hit it with a toothbrush, and after some brushing later, you can see I'm getting it a lot cleaner. I'm not sure how white these tires were originally. They're going to look yellow. So these are the rusty parts. Rust is off of them, so I'll be able to move on with that. Now it's got these two clips on the back. I got to figure out what they're for. I'm going to look online and see if I need to replace something. And here I'm straightening out this little bridge support. And I'm going to have to fabricate a ladder because this thing had a ladder going across there. This is my little setup for painting hubs and wheels and tires and whatever needs to be spray painted, small parts. So this is kind of a little wiry rope. It's a wire rope. I don't know what it's for. It's for some sewing. And the base, it's going to get a coat of satin black paint. And there I'm ready also to paint the casting. So I'm hitting these with the spray bomb straight on without any primer. And they come out looking pretty good. But after painting the casting, see I'm putting pink primer on the casting before I put on the spray bomb paint. So here comes the spray bomb paint. Well, no, that's still, just letting it dry still. So now the base, it's a simple process. It's a few sprays. I have to do one side at a time. I'll wait for that to dry and then I'll paint the other side. So here we're at the casting again. This time I've got the red spray bomb, and that certainly paints the thing very quickly. After doing this, I saw this paint job looks a lot better than the hubs. So I don't think I show it here, but I sprayed some primer on top of the paint, pink primer, and then I spray bombed it the same way so that the hubs will look the same as the rest of the toy. So I'm doing some of the detailing here, headlights and the hose on the back. And then there's there's the grill and the bumper. So I watched closely how it was painted. The Dinky tended to paint these things differently in some cases. So you have to really look at how the bumper, for example, is painted. Is it top and bottom as well as the front, or just the front? In this case, it's just the front. And then also on the back, there are those strips. They have to be silver as well. So the whole thing got taped up, and I didn't show spraying it in the booth, so I don't have video of that. But anyway, you see how much it was taped up, and you get to watch me taking the tape off again. So while you're watching this, you might want to go down and click like, that's a thumbs up, or you could contact your friends and tell them, hey, look, there's a video of a fire engine. And if you haven't already, you should subscribe to my channel, and that will help me a little bit. Although I'm still not getting paid on any of these, I don't know if I'll ever be able to get that fixed. So you think all the tape is off, but nope. I had to tape the top of the bumper because the original one, the top of the bumper was not painted, just the front. So there, it looks like it would have originally. The indicator lights are not painted. I'm going to paint those a little bit later. Now the base is ready. The hubs have been repainted. They look just like the color on the main casting. And this is my process, if you haven't already seen it, for making axles. This is 2mm stainless steel tubing, and I cut them to length, and then clean up the ends because Dremel tool leaves sharp edges and stuff. And then to mushroom the ends, I actually have little nails that are shaped just like Dinky toy mushrooms, and they fit into the hole in the middle of this tubing. I call it tubing because there's pipe and there's tubing, and what's the difference between them? Tubing is measured by the outside diameter, pipe is measured by the inside diameter. So these hubs, or these wheels, are too cracked, and I figure I'm not going to be able to use them, so I've 3D printed some new tires, and here's 6 of them. They go on this little rig, and that also sits on a turntable I made from a bearing and a couple of plates, plastic plates from the dollar store. And now they're beautiful white colored tires. They're hard, they don't roll very nicely, and I had to design them so that the inside diameter is just the right size to fit over, the hub will fit over it and be a light press fit with the paint. It's kind of a tricky thing to achieve, and it goes in there and I have to straighten it out, but once it's in there, it's pretty firm, but it's going to bump apart, so I actually glued them from behind with a little bit of epoxy. And I don't show you doing that, but I want to tell you that I did that rather than just say, hey, look, I just pushed them in and it's all fine. Maybe it will be fine for a few minutes, but with any kind of play, they're gonna fall off. But now they won't because they're glued. So I'm doing the glass for this. This is a piece of plastic that's from the packaging of some Christmas cards, and it was very nice plastic, so I keep using this stuff. I'll use it until I run out. I put the tape on there to protect the nice clean shiny plastic from my fingerprints and from getting scratched, and I leave those on until the windows are all cut to the right shape. Cutting these things out, I have to use a knife because if I use scissors, the scissors cut beyond the edge. I can use scissors here, but if I go into a corner, it spoils it. So I have to, if I have a corner, inside corner, I use the knife. So now we're going back to the axles. So these are my mushrooms. So I pull some of these little nails out. So they're basically mushroom headed nails. They're tiny little nails for some kind of upholstering or decorative work or something. And I need to polish off. They have a bronze finish, and I just touch them to the buffing wheel, and it takes that bronze off, and they look beautiful, shiny mushrooms. So there's two axles on this. The front one is goes through holes in the base. That's these ones. So I have to glue these on in place on the base. You can see I put a little epoxy and then push my nail in, and then I turn the thing around and do the other side the same thing. I have to be careful to get enough glue in there because I had one that fell off later on because there wasn't enough glue. Fortunately, these things are just sitting on a shelf most of the time. So this is the other axle. This one is held in by the base, but it's not actually attached to the base. It's a very simple process, and I do it because I don't have to be hammering or having a hammer drill with a nail set spinning furiously around my freshly painted and assembled Dinky toy. If you slip a little bit, you've damaged your thing and you have to start right from scratch. So that's why I do those axle ends. So here I'm taking off of those windows, I'm taking the tape off. And then I hold it by the edges so I don't get my fingerprints. And then these windows, they look beautiful, but sometimes it's hard to see them because there's no scratches on them, there's no fingerprints. So they're perfectly clear and you just look right inside. But you can see them whenever there's a reflection. Now this is what's on the back. There's these little spools with a handle, and they have actually wheels on them. I simplified it. I was going to put wheels on them, and I thought, that's too much work. So I just made this part, and it's all one piece. And then I'm making it look like there's an axle in the middle by putting a couple of those mushroom nails into the holes. Those holes were originally designed to have an axle, and there'd be two wheels, and it was way too complicated for something that's just going to be a decoration on this toy. So with those little mushrooms, it looks like there's an axle in there. Gives it an impression that it's more complicated than it is. So now all the parts are ready. First thing is I take out that screw that's protecting the threaded hole, and I'll strip the paint off of that on another project and then use it again. So first goes my interior. All the windows are in place. And I put that rear axle on. I got to take this little screw is in the bottom so I could hold that thing while I was painting it and such. Now I get my little stainless steel socket head cap screw, put it in place. Now you'll see how these things go on. That's that strange metal clip on the back. So the handle goes in the top and then it snaps onto that big curved part. And then my ladder goes in. And finally I get to painting the indicator lights on the front. So to remind you of what we started with, it's a nice shape. It's missing all its loose parts, but it's not damaged. And look what it looks like now. I think the thing looks beautiful. I'm really pleased with this one. I love those white tires. Now this is not a good rolling toy because it's kind of a rough ride, but it's going to be sitting on a shelf, and I think it looks just beautiful. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Timo's Dinky Detailing. Until next time, be seeing you.